Welcome to Screencast 9, Mobile and More. This is all about mobile workload pricing. Now, as you probably recall, mobile workload pricing was introduced by IBM back in 2014. And a lot of people found it quite cumbersome to actually set up, in particular in terms of the reporting requirements back to IBM in conjunction with SCRT. So, since then, there's been some new support in Workload Manager that should make this easier. Now, there are two APARs required. For Workload Manager itself, which is OA47042, and as we shall see, there's important RMF support in APAR OA48466. To actually set this up, mechanically what you do in the WLM panels for a rule is you scroll to the right twice, and there's a new reporting attribute field which normally has none in it, but you type in mobile to label this particular piece of work as mobile. By the way, this has nothing to do with report class and service class. It's an attribute for the classification rule. This new support actually adds two additional categories called Category A and, imaginatively, Category B. Now, there isn't actually anything at the moment that uses Category A or Category B, and I'm certainly not hinting or pre-announcing anything by saying that. There is new instrumentation to go with this, as I indicated just now. The first set of instrumentation is at the system level in the good old SMF70 subtype 1 CPU record, and down at the workload service class period level in the 72 subtype 3 record. Again, not a new record. So in both cases, these are extensions to existing records. In particular, SMF70 up at the system level already had a long-term average MSUs field called SMF70 LAC. This support adds analogous fields for mobile, for Category A and Category B, and the naming convention you can obviously work out for yourselves is LAC-M, LAC-A, and LAC-B respectively. SMF72 did it a little bit differently. So it added an array of fields, 3 columns by 4 rows, or maybe the other way around if you prefer. So the 3 number refers to general purpose CPU service units, to zip service units, and zip on general purpose engine service units, overflow if you will, or crossover if you prefer that term. Now, in the other dimension, there are 4 things, and you've already met them. They are the overall number in terms of service units in the 3 categories, and similarly for mobile and for Category A and for Category B. Notice these are service units, so they're not long-term average service units, unlike in type 70, and they're not MSUs, so they're not millions of service units in an hour. Now, my friend Tommy sent me a small sample of data from a customer, so that's what I want to share with you now. And I warn you, it is a very small sample of data. So this is the system level view in SMF70. And here you can see the timeline is from 8:45 in the morning to 10:30 in the morning, so only a small number of intervals, but I plotted them each separately, and obviously this is the standard RMF 15-minute interval. So there are only 2 lines on the graph because the LAC-A line and the LAC-B line are both 0. Well, they're there, but they're hugging the axis if you look very closely. So the blue line, the lower of the 2 significant lines, is LAC-M, which is the mobile running for average. And the larger of the 2 sets of numbers is the running for average number overall. Actually, these are not quite straight lines, particularly the running for average overall. There is a slight kink in it. So this is how I know this is real data that's working. And by the way, it's very smooth. So it clearly is running for our average and not instantaneous. Instantaneous would be much more up and down than this. So that's the system view. So here is the service class view. Now I'm only going to show the general purpose CPU service units, and I'm only going to show it for mobile. So it's a fairly low number, but nonetheless it's measurable. And here we have 2 service classes that actually have mobile work in them, and you can obviously identify which those are. So that is going to be IMS and PVWebTX. So this just shows you some of the new instrumentation in action. It's very early days because not a lot of people have done this yet. But if you are able to use the new classification mechanism, you have much better ways of tracking and have much better ways of reporting, whether to IBM or internally. So hopefully you'll like this new support. So thank you for listening to Screencast number 9.